Hello everyone, welcome to the Lightning Ball channel. If you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, please do so and activate the notification bell. Your support fuels my continued efforts. In our previous episode, we uncovered Luminous's secret. The divine ancestor ultimately succeeded in completing his experiment of immortality, achieving a perfect resurrection in a complete form and becoming Luminous Twilight Valentine. In this episode, we continue to push forward the Heaven Tower battlefield at high speed, covering the defeat of Yvarage's three subordinate, and the confrontation between Ivarage, Milim, and Chloe. Of course, after Milim and Chloe suffered heavy damage, the direction of the battlefield once again became uncertain. So, let's get started. We first turned our attention to the Eastern Front, with Milim and Chloe having driven Yvaraj back toward the Star Palace, and with powerhouses such as Velgrind, Benimaru, Testarossa, and Hinata gathered there, the eastern battlefield had effectively turned into a one-sided slaughter. Benimaru was carrying out a completely unilateral purge. This area was the enemy's main breakthrough point, and cryptids surged forward like a tidal wave. Yet, to Benimaru, even the weakest of these cryptids, each rivaling a Demon Lord seed, were nothing more than easily managed fodder. Under normal circumstances, Benimaru would have fought cautiously, but this time he was unusually relaxed, even exhilarated. The reason was simple. Rimuru-sama had returned. That meant this was no longer a war that could be lost. It was a victory celebration that had already been decided. As he cleared the field with Hellflare, he calmly encouraged his subordinates. By contrast, the white lineage demons among Testarossa's black numbers were far less fortunate. With their empress watching from behind, even the slightest mistake could result in instant execution. Driven by sheer survival instinct, they fought with terrifying focus, flawlessly coordinating with Benimaru to hold the line without a single slip. Next, we moved to the southern front. Ultima's battle with Suiemu was nearing its conclusion. Ultima held overwhelming dominance. This was not merely a victory, but a humiliation. The battle showcased a stark contrast between raw existence points and the gulf in technique. By the numbers, Suiemu possessed more than 10 times Ultima's energy, and every strike was capable of destroying a planet. However, Ultima's growth had been nothing short of monstrous. She had inherited Damrata's techniques, refined them through relentless training with Zegion, and gained first-hand experience fighting Velgrind. In Ultima's eyes, the newly humanoid Suiemu was nothing but openings, slow preparatory movements, punches full of power but lacking any real skill. Using her twin myth-grade knuckle-guard knives, Ultima responded with ease, treating Suiemu like a training dummy. Moreover, none of Ultima's attacks were aimed at dealing physical damage. Each strike was designed to inject cursed poison through Bloody Bite, all to activate the forbidden technique Limit End. Inside Suiemu's body, the poison generated countless abyss cores, which multiplied like cancer cells by devouring the host's energy. Suiemu's massive reserves only hastened its demise. When a violet, demonic flower bloomed on Suiemu's chest, the death sentence was sealed. Ultima smiled and delivered the final blow. Core break. All abyss cores within Suiemu detonated simultaneously, triggering a violent collapse. Ultima had already opened a gateway to the void directly within Suiemu's core. As positive and negative energies canceled each other out, Suiemu never even realized what had happened before being completely erased. Nothing left behind, not even ash. Let's shift our focus to the western front. After evolving into a humanoid form, Kakeashi's power had skyrocketed. Even more frightening was his terrifying learning ability. This was the fundamental difference between him and Suiemu. Kakeashi instinctively understood how to continuously refine himself. Facing such an opponent, Gobta and Ranga activated transformation, merging into a single entity to serve as the offensive vanguard. Sheon held the front line while Kumara provided guerrilla harassment. The coordination between the four was near flawless. Sheon's exceptional danger sense allowed her to interrupt Kakeashi before his finishing moves. Kumara constantly applied status ailments. Gobta maneuvered with agility. Yet, in Kakeashi's eyes, all of it was futile. He possessed a form of olfactory perception that surpassed even magic sensing, allowing him to grasp the entire battlefield with zero delay. The only reason he had not gone for the kill was because he was learning, studying Gobta and the others, absorbing their movements to adapt fully to his humanoid body. Shaon's attacks caused pain, but nothing more. Just as Shaon and the others were reaching their limit, a familiar voice rang out. Veldora made another flashy entrance. On one hand, he was eager to escape Luminous's terrifying gaze. On the other, he was desperate to earn merit. Not only would that prevent Rimuru's displeasure, it might even earn him praise, perhaps even justify throwing a celebration afterward. Shaon, however, was visibly displeased. She exploded on the spot, complaining that Veldora-sama was stealing her opponent again, just like during the Degruel fight. Though she voiced her frustration, Shaon had to admit it inwardly. The current Kakeashi was far beyond her ability to handle, just as Degruel had been. Continuing the fight would only result in escalating casualties, both for her allies and herself. With Gobta tearfully begging for reinforcements at her side, Shaon finally relented and allowed Veldora to bring the battle to an end. Next came the confrontation between dragon and beast. Although Kakeashi was arrogant, his instincts were razor-sharp. For the first time standing before Veldora, he felt fear. Veldora's control over his aura had reached perfection. No magicules leaked out at all. To Kakeashi, it felt like staring into a bottomless black hole. Kakeashi attempted a probing attack, mimicking Gobta's footwork. He lunged forward at supersonic speed, his twin fists slicing through the air like blades. The strike was fast enough that even Shaon might not have reacted in time, but to Veldora it was nothing more than a child's trick. Veldora did not dodge. Instead, he unleashed his new finishing move, Storm Fang. The name sounded impressive, but the principle was brutally simple. He compressed all the energy of Ruined Tempest into both fists and threw a straight uppercut. The result was devastating. His left fist pierced through Kakeashi's cheek, his right shattered the jaw. Kakeashi's proud speed only amplified the impact, propelling him directly into that world-ending blow. That single strike drained most of Kakeashi's stamina. The king who had once rampaged across other worlds was taught a lesson through pure violence. He never even understood what had happened before being overwhelmed by the reality of defeat. The perspective then shifted to the final battlefield, the Northern Front. Here stood the genius strategist Yuuki and his team, the masters of magic Gadra and Adalman, along with Sylvia and Elmisia. Yet, against Habataki, who had evolved into a humanoid form with seemingly infinite magic power, every scheme felt painfully inadequate. Yuuki did not give up. Even after Habataki's evolution caused her combat power to skyrocket, he leveraged the battlefield's sealed space. By interfering with spatial coordinates, he precisely predicted Habataki's teleportation points. Every ounce of firepower, Adelman's strongest spells, support from the Black Numbers, and the Magus artillery of Elmisia and Sylvia was concentrated on a single point. Yet, the result was zero damage. Habataki played with teleportation at the highest level. She simply teleported all incoming attacks elsewhere. This was the ultimate application of dimensional shift. With conventional methods rendered useless, Yuuki escalated. He proposed a ridiculous plan: deliver the bombs directly inside the enemy's body. First came bomb construction. Elmisia compressed wind spheres, Sylvia compressed lightning, Laplace compressed air blasts, and Kagali prepared curse explosives. The most extreme contribution came from Gadra and Adalman. Gadra wrapped void energy around Adalman's disintegration, creating what was effectively a pseudo-imaginary collapse, though in principle it was something entirely different, closer to a nihilistic disintegration. Using instantaneous teleportation, Yuuki sent all of these high-energy bombs straight into Habataki's abdomen. This time, it worked. Habataki felt pain for the first time. Her body suffered extensive damage, her left arm torn apart, her right leg lost. Yet even this failed to kill her. As the dust settled, all of her wounds regenerated instantly. She did not die, but she was enraged. Habataki retaliated with a blinding flash. This was not mere light, but a destructive attack capable of severing molecular bonds. Within a 500-meter radius, rock formations were reduced to dust, and the terrain was completely reshaped. Thanks to an advance warning from the Manus Maria within Yuuki's mind, he teleported everyone away just in time. No one died, but morale collapsed. Yuuki tried to lighten the mood, joking that they had technically succeeded by provoking the enemy. He was immediately drowned in complaints. The situation had become a dead end. Close combat was kited by teleportation, ranged attacks were redirected, and stalling risked instant annihilation by molecular disintegration. Just as Yuuki was about to utter the dreaded words, "Sacrifices are inevitable," salvation arrived. Primordial Yellow, Carrera, descended with her trademark arrogant smile, boldly declaring that seeing everyone in trouble proved she had come to the right place. The core issue, she pointed out, was insufficient firepower. Habataki's defensive mechanisms were simply too strong for ordinary magic. Carrera, the most destructive among the primordial demons, was the missing piece. The moment she arrived, she seized command through sheer force of will. Her temper was infamous. Elmazia and the others frantically warned Yuuki not to provoke her. Even Manus Maria issued alerts, stressing that this woman absolutely must not be angered. Yuuki, once a villainous mastermind, had no room for defiance in front of Carrera. He obediently accepted his role as a tool. Carrera's preparation alone sent chills through everyone present. She summoned her subordinate Ajera and ordered him to activate the ultimate gift blade transformation, turning into a golden sword. Then Carrera poured all of her power into the blade, completely abandoning defense. Standing defenseless at the center of the battlefield was tantamount to suicide, but Carrera did not care. To secure victory, she placed everything on the line. If something went wrong, someone else would figure it out. Despite her violent temperament, she trusted Yuuki and the others. To create an opening, the rest fought desperately as decoys. Sylvia and Elmisia drew aggro, keeping Habataki's attention. Kagali activated ultimate enchantments, Agastya, Book of Prophecy, masking their presence through deception and misdirection, causing Habataki to misjudge the situation. Tia activated ultimate enchantments, Orpheus, Optimistic Performer, granting powerful buffs to Sylvia and Elmisia. The side effects were severe. Short-term combat power surged, but long-term stamina plummeted, risking total collapse. This ability caught Carrera's attention, perfectly matching her needs. She only required overwhelming strength in the present, regardless of future consequences. Without hesitation, she ordered Tia to apply the same instantaneous combat buff to herself. Everything was in place. Yuuki executed the final teleport, delivering Habataki directly in front of Carrera. Enraged and careless after being toyed with, Habataki walked straight into the trap. In the silence, Carrera swung her sword. This was the realm Agera had dreamed of, but could never reach. Hazy style. Ultimate technique, single flash, Ninamai. It was the pinnacle of hazy style, abandoning defense and follow-ups, concentrating everything into the first strike. Only someone as recklessly straightforward as Carrera could achieve it. The cost was absolute. After the swing, Carrera would lose all combat capability, possibly even consciousness. The result was absolute. The once invincible Habataki was cleanly split in two from head to waist. Her core was severed, and she died without even realizing what had happened. This was a madman's victory. Carrera collapsed immediately after the strike, falling asleep on the spot and leaving the aftermath to Agera and Yuuki. Reactions varied among the onlookers. Agera, returning from blade form, wept in awe at having witnessed the pinnacle of swordsmanship. King Gazelle was deeply moved, treasuring the sight as a lifelong inspiration. From afar, Misery and Rain observed in silence, only to complain about Carrera. Rain remarked that Carrera was such a frighteningly simple-minded, stupid girl. Misery, meanwhile, was just grateful that Carrera was an ally rather than an enemy. After all, what sane person would deliberately knock themselves unconscious in the middle of a battlefield? Only Carrera could pull off something that insane. All three fronts had secured victory. Luminous, Ultima, Carrera, and Veldora had each defeated their respective enemies. Rewinding slightly, inside the Star Palace, Milim had been locked in a desperate battle against Yvaraj, the monster wearing her mother's face. From the very beginning, it had been an unfair fight. Facing a creature that was innocent in demeanor yet possessed absolute power, Milim's hesitation became a chain that bound her movements. The battle had already surpassed all expectations, and Chloe had sensed something was wrong. On the surface, the clash looked evenly matched, but Milim's current strength was worlds apart from her stampede state. Milim had revealed her dragonoid form, black armor covering her body, deep crimson horns rising from her head, yet she still refused to draw her sword. She did not summon her Genesis-grade weapon, Asura. The reason was simple. Yvaraj's growth rate was terrifying. Milim could not even be sure that while the weapon superiority would guarantee victory, Chloe understood as well. Another reason Milim held back was Yvaraj's appearance, an adult woman bearing the face of her mother, Lucia. Milim could not bring herself to strike down her mother's body. Yvaraj, on the other hand, was the complete opposite. She enjoyed the fight with childlike delight, humming cheerfully as she attacked. And just as Milim finally resolved to use Asura, Yvaraj revealed the weapon she had inherited from Lucia's corpse, the Genesis-class divine sword, Karma. Its properties rivaled Milim's Asura, completely erasing Milim's equipment advantage. Chloe wanted to intervene, but Milim refused. They had an agreement. Chloe's authority, Time Leap, was the final insurance. It could only be used when a timeline was truly beyond saving. Until then, Chloe conserved her strength. The battle, however, shifted rapidly. Yvaraj regenerated wounds instantly, displayed astonishing combat intelligence, and, most critically, had no concept of death. To her, the battle was a game. Milim dared not use her ultimate skill, Lord of Wraith, because even in her restored sanity, she could not reliably control it. Activating it would mean losing herself again. Strictly speaking, her power was always increasing, but compared to the full operation of her authority, her normal state was negligible. Milim was undoubtedly among the strongest beings in the world, yet against Yvaraj, she was clearly being pushed back. Her frustration grew, and the gap widened. Eventually, Asura was violently knocked from her grasp. Yvaraj seized the opening and struck at Milim. Chloe rushed in to save her. Then, Yvaraj did something shocking. She released her grip on Karma. In the instant Chloe caught the sword, Yvaraj freed both hands and landed a devastating blow. Chloe had believed that abandoning a weapon, especially a creation class one, was tantamount to suicide. Against Yvaraj, common sense did not apply. The strongest hero, Chloe, was instantly incapacitated and collapsed, unable to move. Even as Chloe hesitated over whether to activate Time Leap, Milim continued to fight Yvaraj barehanded. Chloe forced herself upright using her sword and chose to fight alongside Milim until the very end. The perspective shifted back to the eastern battlefield. With Yvaraj occupied by Milim, every front achieved decisive victories. Yet, no one celebrated. Benimaru understood how volatile the situation was. Everything depended on Milim's restraint of Yvaraj. Optimism was premature. Just as the forces prepared to press their advantage, Heaven Tower suffered its most violent shock. As the dust settled, the figure that emerged was not Milim, but Yvaraj. Her cherry gold hair flowed straight down her back, her silhouette resembling an adult Milim. Her innocent yet horrifying voice made everyone realize the truth. Milim had fallen. Luminous delivered the grim assessment. Milim lay at the center of the battlefield, wounded. And worse, her source energy was depleted. There was no method in existence capable of replenishing Magiculi reserves of Milim's scale. This meant the strongest combatant was out of the fight. And the contingency, Chloe, remained unaccounted for. Facing this despair, Veldora, fresh from victory on the Western Front, swelled with confidence. He eagerly volunteered to fight alone. Benimaru immediately shut him down. When Veldora accused him of cowardice, Benimaru responded with the line that defined the entire war: "The victor is justice." This was not a knight's duel. It was a war for the survival of the world. One loss meant everything ended. To honor the time Milim had bought with her life, there could be no hesitation. Any method was acceptable. Testarossa fully agreed. If Veldora died, Rimuru-sama would grieve. Velgrin sharply warned her brother, reminding him that she herself had nearly been killed by his reckless blow. Luminous added that while Veldora getting beaten senseless might be amusing, losing combat power at this stage was simply foolish. Under pressure, threats, and reason, Veldora finally accepted reality and agreed to a group assault. The battle moved into its next phase. Alright, that was all for this video. As always, when it came to the battles involving Ivarage's 3 subordinates, the overview remained intentionally concise. Carrera's fight once again perfectly matched her personality. This episode progressed rapidly, and as mentioned before, the true core of TenSura Chapter 2 lay in Luminous's story. The other battles existed primarily to bridge the narrative into Chapter 3. In the next episode, another major twist from Volume 23 would unfold: Feldway's transformation. And Rimuru's first action upon arriving at the Heaven Tower battlefield would be something no one expected: saving Feldway. The next episode would be just as exciting. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Your support was greatly appreciated. See you in the next one.